Good evening and thank you for joining us here on KREM 2 News 10 at 10, where we give you more news in less time. I'm Whitney Ward in for Mark tonight. All right, let's get started. We begin now with weather. It is setting up to be a very mild weekend all across the inland Northwest. But enjoy it because by Monday, it sounds like things will be looking a little bit different. We turn to our meteorologist, Michelle Boss, now for all those details.
Yeah, we're going to start the weekend off on a nice calm note. Well, a little bit of cloud cover tomorrow, so not a whole lot of sunshine, but relatively nice. In fact, temperatures outside not too bad. We've had some chilly mornings. Fortunately, Spokane certainly stayed away from the freezing temperatures, not so up north where they had temperatures as cold as the 20s in Deer Park over the last couple of mornings. But 62 right now in Spokane, upper 40s in Deer Park, 57 in Coeur d'Alene, and 50s and 60s across the rest of the region. We enjoyed some sunshine today and high temperatures in the lower 70s, but we will see those clouds increasing from the west, and you can kind of see that clouds moving west to east across the region to bring us a little bit cloudier weather for tomorrow, and that's evident here in the short-term forecast. Lows won't be quite as chilly as they have been. We'll drop down around 49, 50 degrees, and then still manage to warm up into the low 70s tomorrow, but by late in the day on Sunday, some wet weather and windy weather moves in, and we are in for a wild ride for the upcoming week, starting off with some pretty stormy, soggy weather for Monday.
All right, Michelle, thank you. The Spokane County prosecutor will not pursue criminal charges against 3 detectives involved in a standoff and shooting on Spokane's South Hill last year. Last April, those detectives were watching a suspect, 49-year-old Jeremy Bosch, who had outstanding warrants for assault and robbery. When he was confronted, police say Bosch shot at the officers, so they returned fire. It led to an overnight standoff, prompting an emergency alert, asking people living nearby to shelter in place. Bosch ended up with non-life-threatening injuries. Today, the prosecutor said all 3 detectives involved were justified in their use of force. New tonight, notorious Canadian serial killer Robert Pickton has died after being attacked earlier this month inside a Quebec prison. In 2007, Pickton was convicted on 6 counts of murder and sentenced to life in prison. It's believed, though, he may have been responsible for killing more than 60 women in the early 2000s and then feeding their remains to pigs on his farm in British Columbia. Jurors heard from the family of Chad Daybell's victims today before they started deliberating about whether he should get the death penalty or life in prison. Those same jurors found Daybell guilty on 9 counts of murder, conspiracy, and insurance fraud yesterday. 9 people gave impact statements today where they explained how the murders have changed their lives, including JJ and Tylee's older brother.
Sit with my little sister and talk and share our lives. So in short, I lost everything I've ever known.
Daybell said he did not want to speak on his own behalf, and his defense attorney did not call any witnesses to present evidence about why he should not get the death penalty. Jury deliberations will resume tomorrow on Saturday at 9 a.m. After months of being on leave and under investigation, the University of Idaho head volleyball coach resigned today. He was under investigation for allegations of abuse against those U of I players. KREM 2's Nicole Hernandez has more tonight from the university, plus she has reaction from one of those players.
After months of the unknown, one thing is for sure now. Chris Gonzalez is no longer the University of Idaho women's volleyball coach.
So just relief, like finally this is happening.
Finally, after Emma Peterson and the rest of the team went through months of investigations and waiting.
All of the work that we'd done and put in, all of the meetings that we had and the evidence that we gathered and the interviews with the law firms for the investigation all finally came together.
The university finished one of 2 investigations earlier this month. Those findings haven't been released to the public, but Emma says the findings were clear.
From the report, we found that there is sufficient evidence that Gonzalez is responsible for discrimination based on national origin, sufficient evidence that Gonzalez is responsible for sex-based harassment, sufficient evidence that Gonzalez is responsible for retaliation and multiple counts of retaliation.
She said the report made it clear he violated several university policies.
So it was very validating to see that.
But that validation also comes with some frustration.
I think the duration of this whole thing alone speaks heavily on the things that went wrong.
In the last few months, KREM 2 has repeatedly asked the university its stance on these allegations. But now, since Gonzalez resigned, the university says it will not finish the other investigation.
We're all incredibly disappointed that the climate and culture investigation is over and shut down because there was so much more.
The university said in a statement today, quote, "With this resolution, we look forward to the volleyball program rebuilding an environment in which our student athletes can be comfortable and succeed both on the court and off," end quote. As Emma looks forward to her next season, she's hopeful for the same.
I am just really hopeful that everyone who hasn't had the chance to experience what college athletics should be really starts to feel everything that they should and get the environment that they should and kind of be able to grow past this.
In Spokane, Nicole Hernandez, KREM 2 News.
And now taking a look at Night Beat with a quick look at the day's top stories. According to the Transportation Security Administration, travel levels are reaching and in some cases even surpassing pre-pandemic levels. This year, though, lawmakers have passed new protections just in case you ever find yourself stranded. President Joe Biden signed the FAA reauthorization bill aiming to improve safety in the industry while at the same time offering new protections for ticketed passengers. Washington's U.S. Senator Maria Cantwell was one of the lawmakers who championed the bipartisan effort. Among the new protections, airlines must now offer hassle-free refunds if a domestic flight is delayed more than 3 hours. Airlines cannot charge fees for families to sit together, and they must improve communication with customers who have travel plans that go south.
I think airlines are just going to have to realize that consumers, you can't just capture them forever with bad policy. Consumers have some rights here.
Cantwell says much of the inspiration for the new protections came from that widespread airline delay and outage over the holidays in late 2022. Boeing has agreed to pay more than $11 million in back pay to hundreds of local workers. The Department of Labor and Industries says it is the largest payout of its kind in the agency's history. Under Washington law, companies must pay workers for time spent on mandatory travel as well as overtime and sick leave based on those hours. But L&I says Boeing did not do that for about 500 workers. The company did cooperate and has revised its pay practices. Those workers will now receive payouts ranging from just a few $100s to more than $90,000. Boeing also promised to take steps to make sure the problem doesn't happen again. A statewide ban on Styrofoam goes into effect tomorrow, which means single-use coolers, to-go containers, and any dishware made of Styrofoam will be illegal to sell or distribute. It's an effort to reduce the amount of waste that ends up in our landfills, but it means local restaurants have to look for alternatives, and they're not cheap.
We now have to spend 4 times as much in order to be able to supply this little bitty bowl. Being that this is a small restaurant, a small business, the impact is very huge.
The new rules also ban businesses from passing out their current Styrofoam inventory. Businesses that violate the ban would be fined $250 for the first offense and then $1,000 for every offense after that. And that was your Night Beat. If you'd like to learn more about any of those stories, just go to our website, KREM.com. And that was KREM 2 News 10 at 10, where you get more news in less time, but we're not